WWE superstar, Mr. Johnny Nitro Morrison. Maybe one lucky fan might take a body slam from him, if you're lucky.
Check, check. Is that somebody's cell phone over there? There. Where were you like 2 minutes ago, bro? When I was walking in the room. You don't happen to have some fans and some pyro and some slow motion camera effects, do you? Smoke machines? Appreciate that. Well, first of all, let's give it up for the Wyatt family. That's awesome. Thought you guys might be busy today, but appreciate you making it down here for this Q&A. And I guess to answer your first question, when I get back to WWE, yes, I'll probably kick your asses. When that's going to happen, I don't know. So let's start this Q&A. Let's open it up a little bit to the ladies and gentlemen from the Albuquerque Comic-Con who want to know about me, about John Morrison, about Johnny Nitro, about pro wrestling in general, or about life. Go ahead, shoot. Who has a question? All right, Q&A open up.
How did you come up with your finishing move, Starship Pain?
Starship Pain. Starship Pain is a combination of a top rope corkscrew moonsault that I guess you could say Jimmy Yang was doing it in WCW before I started doing it in OVW. But that's just standing on the top rope, flipping and twisting. And a split leg moonsault obviously is something that Rob Van Dam was doing for a long time. And one time at OVW before a match, I was trying to put those two moves together, and it ended up working out really well. And at the time, a bunch of my buddies were there. We were all working on it together. Paul Burchill, Seth Skyfire, Joey Mercury was there, Matt Capitelli, and nobody could do that split leg twist except for me. And I ended up doing it really well, and I started using it from that day in OVW. But I didn't use it in WWE until 2007 because I always wrestled as a heel. Thank you. You're too kind.
Okay, 2 questions. 1, how difficult is the Starship Pain for you to pull off, difficulty level to pull off during a show? And 2, who was your favorite matchup, and I guess why? Who did you have the most fun working with?
Yeah, that's like 3 questions. And there's so many questions that I don't have time to answer those 3. No, so Starship Pain was difficult at first, but I've done it maybe thousands of times now, and I've got it pretty dialed in. So it's not that difficult to do. It's a little bit tough on the knee joints. You know what I mean? The old knee bones. Take a pretty good hit to the mat every time I hit Starship Pain. As far as my favorite opponent and why, it's really hard to pick one person that's a favorite opponent. It's always hard to pick one favorite anything, right? Like what's your favorite song? Except for this guy who likes A Wonderful World. Louis Armstrong, nice. Okay, well, so some of my favorite opponents, and that's also another tricky question because in WWE, once you get to that level, everybody that you're wrestling is accomplished and confident and has good energy and for the most part isn't going to hurt you on accident. But there are exceptions, Drew McIntyre, that do sometimes let those stiff shots slip in and tag you in the face. So among my favorite opponents, I would actually throw The Miz in there because he might not be the best wrestler or technically sound or the most intelligent guy or he might not be the best looking guy or the most fun to talk to or any of that stuff, or he might not be in the best shape, but he's open to ideas, and he's a great friend of mine. He's down to collaborate. He's always The Miz, and he brings great energy, and it's cool to create something with somebody who's got energy that's different than yours. So I always enjoyed wrestling The Miz. CM Punk, same thing. He's like an evil wrestling genius. Rey Mysterio was always really fun to wrestle because growing up, he was one of the guys that I looked up to and one of the guys that blew my mind when I actually got to meet backstage. So wrestling him was always like an amazing experience for me. Dolph Ziggler, I mean, goes without saying, dude's super talented, down to try anything. Sheamus, and actually, despite Drew McIntyre's sloppy punches, eventually I started to love wrestling that Scottish giant, and got used to getting hit in the face, and hitting him back was actually fun too. Is there anybody I missed? You know what? Like it's tough because like tag team wrestling, like Eminem versus the Hardys was great. Individually, I loved wrestling Matt. I really loved wrestling Jeff too. And there's tons of people that I'm forgetting. But and why? I think I answered the why too. So moving on to the next question. The next burning question from somebody here in Albuquerque at the Albuquerque Comic-Con.
How much do you bench?
Who asked that? 200 pounds more than you. How much do you bench? Oh, then more than you, more than that.
This question, I'm sure, is probably going to sound like real personal, but what was your thoughts after one night stand with the whole, Chris Benoit situation? Since you...
Well, it is a little bit of a personal question. After the one night stand when I replaced Chris Benoit, I was... Okay, so that night, I was excited that he didn't show up because I got to replace him. No one knew what happened to Chris Benoit that night. I just knew that he didn't show up, and I got to replace him and wrestle CM Punk, and it was a great opportunity. Of course, and you guys are getting the insight on this because people at WWE are trained not to answer this question, but the next day when we had a big meeting and we found out what happened with Chris, the whole roster teared up and cried in shock because Chris and his family were very nice people that we all knew personally, and that tragedy is something that to this day I think about almost every day. And how do I feel about it? Awful. How about the next person that asks the question asks something a little bit more upbeat, huh? Let's turn the mood back and go get a little bit more positive. There we go. Husky Harris, what's up?
I'm not Husky Harris.
That's right, I forgot.
Right. I was wondering, what's your favorite piece of furniture in the Palace of Wisdom? You don't know the Palace of Wisdom?
You don't know the Palace of Wisdom, shame on you. The Palace of Wisdom is an interesting place. And I like to hang out there because you can change the contents of the Palace of Wisdom just based on thoughts. And then I realized this question and answer is a little bit esoteric. So my favorite piece of furniture in the Palace of Wisdom is potential. I like that you guys are getting down with this clapping. It's making me feel a lot better about these answers. All right. Hey, Johnny Depp just got here. Sorry, Jack Sparrow. My bad, brother. Who else? Anybody else want to know anything about professional wrestling, life in general? Yeah. Let's see, outside the ring, the same thing. A lot of those guys end up making it because the douches get weeded out along the way. The last time I was up on the road, I was riding with Zack Ryder, Dolph Ziggler, and Miz, and we became a pretty tight clique. All those guys I have a good time hanging out with. I spent a lot of time riding with CM Punk and Luke Gallows. In the Straight Edge Society days, and that was a really fun ride. I like hanging out with both Punk and Luke. see, like Sheamus and Drew McIntyre, they're a hell of a lot of fun if you want to go have a wild night and do some drinking. You know, and obviously like Joey Mercury, since back in the day we were real tight, and love hanging out with that dude. And actually let me throw Santino in there too, man. That guy's Santino and Vladimir Kozlov are a cool a cool bus ride for sure. We do those Europe tours. You're stuck on a bus with 30 wrestlers and everybody's singing country songs and talking about stories and chicks that they used to date that they have to pay alimony to, and it's a crazy time. But those guys are always a lot of fun on the bus trips. And I'm sure that I'm forgetting some people because there's a lot of wrestlers, and I fell in my head a lot, and there's a lot of years that I spent with the WWE. Yeah, go again. Well, I started through a show on MTV called Tough Enough. And Tough Enough was a lot of people in the wrestling business, something that those people would think of as a shortcut. And for me, I would describe Tough Enough with one word: opportunity. And the deal with Tough Enough is it's a reality show about training to be a professional wrestler. I submitted a tape for season 2. I got denied. And then I started training. I trained in Sacramento for about 6 months. I was still a college student though, so I was going to school full time. I ended up getting accepted to Tough Enough 3 and winning that show, and then moving to Louisville. And then I spent another 2.5 years training in Louisville for Ohio Valley Wrestling, in bingo halls, National Guard armories, and high schools all over southern Ohio, southern Indiana, and all over Kentucky. So to get my big break with WWE, I kind of won a lottery ticket and then took advantage of that opportunity. That took 6 months or a year, but then to train after that, to get the opportunity to go from developmental wrestling to being a regular part of SmackDown, that was 3.5 years total.
So, do you still not know what a spinneroonie is? I'm just joking with that.
No, that was a good question. Spoken like a true wrestling fan. No, I figured it out. Brother. I think that was the difference between making Tough Enough 3 and not making Tough Enough 2. Although I will say that question that you're referring to, if you watch Tough Enough 2, I would say that the spinneroonie I did during that tryout was way better than the spinneroonies that Booker T does on TV.
I guess I kind of let in. It was kind of a joke, but
yeah.
You know, nowadays with like social media and stuff, the WWE tends to be very, very restrictive. And you guys had Dirt Sheet and Ms. Morrison, I told you earlier, greatest tag team of all time, in my opinion. I'll probably get a lot of heat for that, but I really
not gonna get any heat from me.
we were actually at WrestleMania, saw your last match as champions, and really enjoyed it. But how is it, you know, working with the Dirt Sheet, Zack Ryder and his show? Does the WWE really crack down on you guys when you do things that are like outside? Is it dangerous to do certain things? Like if you do something, will you get in trouble? That type of thing.
I think this is a general rule of comedy. And I think if you do something that's really funny, you can get away with almost anything. And as far as the Dirt Sheet that I did with The Miz goes, it was really fun because we spent our time in those car rides. You know, when you're driving from Austin to Houston to Dallas to wherever, sitting in a car with like your buddies for 4 hours. We spent that time thinking of funny things to do on our internet show. And at the time, the Dirt Sheet was even before the WWE's YouTube channel started, and a lot of the stuff we did was flying under the radar. No one would say anything. And when Zach first started his internet show, that was Z True Long Island Story was before WWE's YouTube channel started also. What's interesting about his show is he did about 70 episodes before WWE took it over, and then really started putting handcuffs on him about what he could do and what his content could be. So he had complete creative control for a year and then handed it over to WWE, and I think the quality of his show started to suffer because of it. As far as that goes, it's tough, and that's actually one of the reasons that I left WWE. It's tough to be creative and have all these these ideas and things that you want to do, and you're spending all your time and putting all your energy into something, and to not see those ideas ever come to fruition is creatively stifling. And that's, I think, one problem with WWE. And on their side, it's a business, and they need to have everybody, every part of their machine going the same direction. If they've got parts trying to go off to the side and turn the train right when the train's trying to go straight, it's not going to be an efficient business. So it's just a problem of having a big organization where you're employing hundreds of very creative people who want autonomy. And it's a balance. It's a political game, and it's one thing that's really interesting about it. And when you can get to the level and position where you can get your ideas done, then I think that's the shit. You know, that's what you get into wrestling for, to have an idea, to make it happen, to entertain people, to have a good time with your friends.
So about that, was there like a storyline that you wanted to happen that didn't happen? Like, well, I'm sure there were many, but like, which one sticks out to you?
Yeah, dude, there's tons of storylines. I mean, I would say that I pitched the different storyline almost every week to the writing team, but I would also say that that wasn't just me. I mean, a lot of the wrestlers, at least half the roster, is constantly doing that. If you're on the active roster on Raw or SmackDown, you're thinking about wrestling every day, all day. You eat, breathe, and sleep it. And I'm trying to think of some of the crazy storylines. I wanted to have a huge like rap battle storyline with John Cena when I was managing Kevin Federline. I wrote a bunch of rap songs, Peanut Butter and Johnny. The girls all want me, they know I'm a hottie. Can't get enough Peanut Butter and Johnny. But I was gonna make music videos and all kinds of stuff. It ended up not happening because Cena was getting ready to feud with somebody else. But stuff like that, you know. And then I think that's one of the reasons is that the dirt sheet that I did with The Miz became so appealing, because we had an outlet for all those creative ideas.
And then also, there's one match that was sticking out to me, and I was wondering, it was the ladder match, the four-way ladder match, when Joey Mercury he kind of got his face busted. I was wondering what went through your mind when that happened. Like, were you like panicking inside, or were you just...
If you watch that tape back, like we were both standing there when the ladder hit,
right?
And I'm a luck of the draw, like the angle, and I'm a little bit taller. He just took all the force, and the ladder hit me, and I spilled out the other side of the ring. I didn't see what happened to Joey. I didn't know where he went. The next time we were supposed to do something together, he wasn't there, and I was looking for him, and I was kind of upset because I was like, dude, Joey, what the hell are you? What's going on? And then I looked around, I didn't see him, and I looked at the top of the ramp, and I saw him limping up and walking out, and I still didn't know what happened, but I saw that there was blood all over the mat and that he'd trailed up. So I just continued the match, and I figured he got hurt. I didn't know how bad it was. And as soon as the match was over, I ran back, and by the time I got backstage, his face was already mummified with gauze. And that night, Melina and I went to the hospital with him and sat there and heard all the stuff. He had to get his cartilage stitched together. He had to get his skin stitched together on top of the stitches in his cartilage. It was a disaster. It's, I guess it sucked. It's the best way to say that. It was, you see your best friend like get hurt really bad. It's scary, and it's you just hope it works out for him.
First question is, what was it like being, I guess, under the apprenticeship of Eric Bischoff during the whole Johnny Nitro with the WCW theme to it? And then the second question is, after you left WWE, did TNA ever try calling you to see if you wanted to come and wrestle for them?
I liked working with Eric. I thought he was a creative dude, and it was fun, and that was like a really exciting time for me. It was the first time I had a taste of like the big time, being on the big stage, and it was fun being Bischoff's apprentice, and it was a little weird for me because my dream was to be in the ring performing, and that's really what I'd focused on almost exclusively. and to be put in a spot where I was talking and I was just kind of an on-screen personality was something that I think I would thrive at now, but at that time I just wasn't really prepared for. And as far as after leaving WWE, I've talked to everybody. I've talked to New Japan, I've talked to All Japan, I've talked to TNA, WWE, Ring of Honor, everybody. The reason that I'm not wrestling anywhere right now on a schedule like the 200 show a year schedule is because I wanted to have time to pursue my own projects, which is what I've been doing and enjoying the autonomy to make Out of Your Mind Fitness, my fitness program, to make a bunch of movies that I've been producing. I've done 4 movies since I've left. I'm leaving to shoot like a very low budget Hercules movie in 2 weeks in Greece that I'm really looking forward to. And in March, I'm shooting a movie called Boone the Bounty Hunter, which a lot of people are saying is going to be the best movie of 2014. It stars me. Thank you. There we go. And it's about a bounty hunter that does parkour to catch his bounties and then has to punch, kick, and parkour his way out of trouble. I think it's going to be really badass. Something that wrestling fans will like and movie fans will like and fans of old school 80s action movies will love. All right. What's that? What are you doing into 2014? You don't know how to wrestle? Oh, okay. Well, I guess aside from you, sure. CM Punk. No, not CM Punk. I've worked with him a lot. HBK is somebody that I've had the chance to work with a couple times in tag matches. Although I feel like I never had a chance to work a feud with him or that one singles match with him. And I know I've been compared to him a lot. It'd be really awesome to have a program with HBK, and it's probably not possible now because he's retired. But I'd say if I had to pick one, that'd be the one.
After the ladder fiasco, were there anything else after you that you were here crying after that?
After Joey got hurt in that ladder match, I think one thing about WWE is they set the stage and they give you the pieces, and a lot of the people come up with their own stunts or gags, so to speak. And as far as coming up with falls count anywhere or big spots, I walked in almost every TV with 5 crazy ideas that were too dangerous and got denied. And probably that's a good thing, because if they'd let me do whatever I wanted, I would have been moonsaulting off the scaffolding and doing side flips from the upper terrace of the Staples Center down to the lower terrace. I had all these crazy ideas. So I think it's the fear was there, but the desire to perform and do these things was greater than the fear.
What was your favorite type of match to wrestle in?
Falls count anywhere. I think towards the end of my career, I really started coming into my own with integrating parkour into professional wrestling, and those falls count anywhere matches, I think, really just opened everything up. It was, instead of the ring, you have the arena, and it just, from a creative standpoint, you can use the ring, you can use the barricade, you can use the stands, you can use the stage, you can use all the objects on the stage. And ultimately, that's how I ended up getting hurt on my very last night with that Falls Count Anywhere match versus The Miz. We were running through this crazy Falls Count Anywhere match, and I had crazy ideas. They're gonna let me do whatever I wanted. I practiced doing a 20-foot moonsault, this crazy side flip, all these parkour stunts, and I ended up on something really stupid. I stepped off the W, and my foot went through a hole in a metal plate before doors opened that night, and I sprained my ankle so bad I could hardly walk, and we had to scrap the whole match and just cover it with I don't know if anyone remembers it, with him just coming out on my entrance and hitting me in the back of the leg. But yeah, one match, favorite match, Falls Count Anywhere. Good to have you guys.
I was wondering I think it was one of your last shirts, where did "We Are Gonna Eat Your Lunch" come from?
Who wouldn't want to eat someone else's lunch? For some reason, I had like this crazy idea of the Jomo sapiens being those monkeys. And I have had experiences with monkeys before. And if you put your food down, like a Fanta or something, those monkeys will come snatch it. And they're like that. And I came up with Eat My Lunch, which I thought was kind of a little bit of a stupid idea, but I wanted it. And when I submitted that phrase first to WWE, everyone pretty much universally said that they thought that was like the stupidest idea for a T-shirt that they'd ever heard. And as soon as they told me that, then I was like, oh, well, I'm having that. I want that. That's going to be on my shirt. I don't care.
And just the second one, since I have the mic, how is Zack Ryder's dad doing? Do you still talk to him and everything? Is he still a big fan of yours?
Dude, Zack Ryder's dad calls me every once in a while. Like, he's called me a couple of times on accident, and like I picked up and I'd be like, yo, Zack's dad. Or Mr. Ryder. He's awesome, man. I like Zack's dad a lot. He was one of the very first people to pre-order Out of Your Mind Fitness. I sent him a signed copy, and he's in great shape. He's a competitive bodybuilder. I don't know if you guys knew that, but Zack's dad is in better shape than Zack is, and Zack's got all kinds of crazy, funny stories about having to shave his dad's back and tan him and stuff. And Zack's dad's competing and wants his ass cheeks tanned and stuff too, so Zack has to do all that. It's good. Like he's a character. Both those guys are characters. They're really fun.
So you sound like you have like a real busy year ahead of you. Is there any way to follow and keep track on what you're doing this year?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter @TheRealMorrison, and I'm made it one of my resolutions to do a better job of tweeting about all this stuff. Because I don't know if you guys follow me or not now, but I haven't been tweeting as much because I've ran out of funny stuff to say in real life. But I'm going to do a good job this year of tweeting and letting you guys know where I am, what I'm doing, what's going on with Out of Your Mind Fitness, this Hercules movie in Greece, and all the stuff that's going on. Boone the Bounty Hunter, Ghost Puncher, parkour training, and being a little bit more interactive, answering you guys' questions on there as well. So that's @TheRealMorrison if you want the 411 on me.
Any last words for your fans, sir?
No more questions? Thank you very much for listening to the John Morrison Q&A. Now go, feel the power of wisdom.